The fastest way to grow your business is to know your business. Hi, John Whaley, aka Johnny Profit, here with Small Business Funding. So here I'm going to outline the mindset, framework, model, checklist, process, procedure, steps, whatever you want to call it. These are the things that all small business must either know or have someone in their organization fully understand in order to take advantage of the trillions of dollars out there ready to help you attack the market. You or someone in your organization must embrace economics, accounting, and finance. Google it, YouTube it, LinkedIn, learn it, whatever it takes. Take a course in it, grab a book. These three things right here are critical to you taking a business and using it as an investment tool. On your checklist, you should outline markets. And this makes sense because markets are where demand comes from. So the things you think about when you look at the market is vector, the velocity, and the volume. And I use the 3 V's to help you remember this. 1, when it comes to markets, they're spending money, they have demand. What is the direction, the vector? What is the velocity, meaning how fast is it coming? And what's the volume, the overall amount of money that market segment can spend? So in the end, who's consuming? Once you develop an understanding of the market and the demand and where this energy is going to be coming in from, now you have the ability to create a proof of concept, and you can get the 4 F's involved, which is basically fools, friends, and family funding. Like you can get those people together, help you get the pre-seed funding. This is that group that says, hey, I got $100, $200, $10,000, whatever. Let's go see what you can catch with that. As you dig around, you'll realize you have scarce resources and you need to find a way to bring more energy, more capital, more resources into the business so you can discover more about the market and its demand. This is where the investors come into play. So investors are looking for that ROX. And when I say X, you'll figure it out later, but return on their investment. And so the most important thing you want to know at this point is, what are they investing in? Why are they investing in that? Where are they putting their money? So you want to know who is sharing the resources out here. You only need to look around to realize there's an abundant amount of resources out here sitting idle or not performing the way they should. So remember, abundant resources, investors. The flip side of that is unlimited demand. It does not matter. As humans, we consume. As long as we're here on Earth, we're going to consume, and it creates unlimited demand in all kinds of ways. Your goal as a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or someone working within an organization that's in charge of raising funds is to figure out what current market solutions are working for both the customers and the investors. So in other words, what are people consuming? What are investors doing? As a small business owner, typically you're going to be the supply side and the market is going to be the demand side. So let's figure out how to get you more in tune with the demand. We want you to look at what gets buyers ready to commit. It is crucial that we understand how needs are met. There is an abundant supply of current information about consumption and consumer spending. You want that to always sit first of mind. Where are people spending their money and why? We also want to know what gets investors ready to commit. How do we meet the needs of the investor to get them to allocate those resources to us? And there is plenty of information out here on current investment strategies, who's involved and what they're looking for. With your sheet of paper, workbook, spreadsheet, or whatever you're using to have a place to write down information about the demand, information about the investors, it's now time to write down some information about you. In another article where I talked about You Are the Business, this is where you sit down and really start to define your why. What is in it for you? Why are you doing this? Why is it a fit? Where do you fit in with other people? Where will the market accept you? And why will it work? This isn't something you answer overnight. This is something you answer over time. This is an exercise of doing research, looking at the due diligence, and being able to think things through. We now shift our attention from the internal reasons why things, moving from the internal to the external. Let's look at the market. And more importantly, why would somebody in the market seek a solution from your business system? To get a better understanding of why someone would seek a solution from your business system, we start with your business model. So we'll put a section in your notebook that says business model, and you put the 4 P's in there of product, place, price, and promotion. And quite simply, you're just simply answering, what is it I can deliver? That's the product. What is it that I can deliver? How do they gain access? That's the place. How do they gain access logistically to what I offer? The price is about value. Like, what does it mean in their head value-wise? And lastly, the promotion. How do I incentivize? How do I create an atmosphere of action? We put all of this in a business plan. Once we have the answers to our 4P in our business model written in our business plan, now we go from that micro level to the macro level, and we look at the economics around the business itself. And so the first thing we look at is, what is the opportunity? We define simply, there is a market demand out there. Here's the vector, the velocity, the volume of the cash they're spending. This is what they're consuming. Here's the business model that we're going to provide a product in the right place at the right price with the right promotions in our business plan, and that is our opportunity. Then we look at the size, right? What is the actual size of this market and how long will it last? And then most importantly, one thing I noticed that is most always left out is, what is the power source? In other words, where does my customer get their money? So that we have the insight well in advance to know that if you're oil and gas or in something cyclical or you're in healthcare, we understand that our customers get their check from an organization that gets their check from an organization. So we're able to look upstream, downstream, and midstream to know how our financial future looks. So power source is very important, and that's why we have this section as a checklist for all small business owners, because we don't want you to find out that the market is tanking on the 10 o'clock news. Let's get back to your needs, raising capital. So one of the things you're going to have to think about is your source of capital. How are you going to get the capital? Are you going to use equity or are you going to use debt? Are you going to enter into the situation using a lot of sweat equity? I mean, you're going to get in there and you're going to come in lean and you're going to get it done with what you have. Or are you going to use opium, other people's money or resources? When it comes to securing your loan, are you going to use assets? Or are you going to use the cash flow of the business? When it comes to the use of capital, are you going to use it for direct sales to make money? A truck hits the road, an employee, engineer starts working the next day, or is it going to be for indirect things like your business cards, maybe some office space, maybe, some printers just in case, or a new CRM? Got to think this through. And then lastly, you want to be able to, in your mind, articulate the next phase or the next stage strategically of what you're going to do with this money and with this business. With these steps alone, you're light years ahead of the other business owners around you. I guarantee, whether they have an MBA or whatever. These are the things that small business owners, whether they're corporate trained or not, lose sight of when they fire up their own business. So the next thing we look at is get your team. Your team should always consist of, now this isn't somebody full-time, it's whatever you can afford. Maybe you give them some equity in the game or something, right? But you have to start with an attorney. You have to find a group, person, whatever, that legally can protect you. Cannot make money off of something you can't protect because other people will come and take it. So you want to make sure you have an intellectual property attorney, contract attorney. You want to make sure you just have somebody you can lean on the legal side. You want to find you someone that is very good at being a CFO, a chief financial officer. In my region, we have a lot of oil and gas, so there's a lot of folks in that sector that know how to look at the economy. They know how to look at the numbers, the accounting, the finance, and they know how to give me real world scenarios of what's possible. Then you want to go out and find you a banker, right? You want to go out and find a banker because these will be your best friends. All these people are connected. When we find these folks, they help you develop your advisory panel. Your advisory panel is crucial. These are folks that are in different sectors, different industries. They got different drives. They're able to give you insight on all the stuff we've talked about as far as the economics, what's in your business plan, what their investor friends are doing, and so on. This next section on investors is not all inclusive. It's to give you a high level understanding of the things you should be thinking about as a small business owner. The biggest question for you at this time is, what are investors seeking from your offer? And I use the 4 Ps. When it comes to return on investment, the 4 Ps are purpose, prestige, perks, and profits. Investors usually aren't thinking in terms of profits. They're thinking in terms of return on investment, the cash they put in, what is the cash they will get out. But for the sake of keeping it easy, purpose, prestige, perks, and profits. And so I want you to understand that the profits, common sense, they want to return on their investment. But many are looking for the perks. Like, what do I get out of this? So you start a new business and I get to drive around in your Formula One race car. You start a new business and I get to fly around in your new jets that I help you buy. Or I get to eat at your awesome restaurant. I got a chef's table. There's so many different ways that you can add perks to what you do to attract investors. When it comes to prestige, maybe you're doing something that's just flat out awesome, which I'm sure for all of you, you feel you're doing something flat out awesome, but it's something that people want to be a part of because they are proud of what you're doing and they're proud to stick their name next to yours. And then lastly, there's a lot of investors out here that are looking for that purpose. You are on a mission and they align with your mission. So the whole point of this section is for you to remember, it's not about just the profits, or in their situation, situation. It's not about the return on the money they gave you or they loaned you or you borrowed. It's about, sure, there's some ROI, but that ROX is the perks, prestige, and the purpose. And you want to be able to formulate your story as you look at the economics, the business plan, and the market demand to shape a story that gets the investor involved. In order to network up, first place I would go is to your banker because they're easy to find. And it's a lot easier than your attorney or finding the right attorney or the right CFO or even to get your advisory panel or a subject matter expert. So you go to your banker and say, hey, I want to network up. I want to hang with those folks that have the capacity to help me grow my business. When it comes to funding, I want you to start tracking who actually provides funding, whether it's organizations or professionals or it's a peer-to-peer setup. So on organizations, you think in terms of banks and institutions and groups like that and hedge funds and mutual funds and all kinds of folks in that space. On the professional end, these are doctors, lawyers, professional licensed individuals that have that discretionary, disposable, investable income. And then peer-to-peer, well, you know who that is. And there's plenty of mechanisms to actually create the transaction for fun. An important attribute for any small business owner seeking cash is to be real. You want to make sure you keep it 100 with yourself because here's what happens. When you're being analyzed, checked out, interviewed, or profiled, they're always going to look at your character, like who you are as a person, what you represent, your capacity overall, what can you take on, the capital, how much do you have or don't have, the conditions within your situation and the situation around you and your business, what collateral you bring to the table, and overall what cash flow will the business be able to throw off for their investment. It is in your best interest to start preparing your balance sheets, income statement, cash flow statements, and have your tax returns ready, as well as your compliance documents, any structure documents, and to start putting together a forecast and budget. Now that you understand your market, what economics you had that, you now have a CFO to work with, your lawyer to work with, your banker, your advisory panel, subject matter experts to help you come up with these documents. And then we want to make sure that within the operation of your business, that you have controls in place to kind of check and balance the things that are going on. We want to make sure that you know how to manage the risk. So you look at the opportunity, a lot of upside, but what are some of the downside and how will we manage those risks as they appear? And then lastly, you want to make sure you have some key performance indicators, like what will you measure so that we can measure. As we move from the concept phase and you've shown proof and we work our way through meeting all these people and putting all these plans in place and setting up our system to get to that successful market solution phase, here are some of the things I want you to remember. So you had proof of concept. That was great. You got everybody together. Once you get that deliverable together, now we're looking at how do you partner up, right? You're looking for that seed funding at that level. Once you've gotten that and you now have a deliverable, you start, now you understand, hey, I got a product that works. This is awesome. Okay, I got the deliverable. Then we move to the business plan where you're shopping that business plan around to make that bankable business case. So anytime I'm working in projects, we typically make a business case of why we're going to do what we're going to do. As the business starts growing and you have a proven business model, then you move into a phase of go or grow. Are you going to go ahead and push forward with what you're doing and really hone in that model? Or are you going to grow and look at scale and expanding based on the fact that you now have a sustainable market solution? So if you've ever watched the show Shark Tank, you'll always see the thing about how many customers do you have, right? How much interest and engagement do you have? So you want to make sure that you focus on a business model that gives you that kind of traction. As the business grows and you get to that highest level of scale for growth, this is where you're really thinking about building wealth. And so the 3 R's here really has to do with replicating what the business does. Are you able to pick it up, stick that model elsewhere, and serve a similar market where there's demand? Responsibility really falls down to the management team. Do you have the systems in place to make sure that your team, whether it's experienced or not, can get the job done? And lastly, your returns. And so as you scale up, it's about narrowing the niche and expanding the market. Once you reach a level where you're able to replicate your success, now is when you're really going to have a pretty much incredible supply of investors that are going to be attracted because of the amount of value you add to the market and how you're able to extract money out of the market. So this is where most small businesses want to get to. But the whole point of this was just for you to get an idea of how your business grows and the things you need at all times to understand as well as to present in order to grow your business. John Willie, aka Johnny Profit. Thanks for checking it out. Hope it helps.